behind you to see where you're forecasting out, start looking at mitigation plans and start bringing that back in. Next slide, please. There's a Gantt chart.
Hey, Rob, you got a question?
Okay.
When you have a project you're involved in, one thing I've learned that some projects do not have a schedule. Some of they have a schedule, but they don't have a schedule.
They don't use it.
They don't use it. So as a cost analyst, how am I to find out what the schedule is? Because for my last employment, they only had schedulers if the project was a certain amount. And so at that point, how do you know, or who do you contact, or how do you get a schedule? Because some of the PMs do have a schedule.
This is just like the contract, you gotta have it, everybody's gotta see it, because how are you gonna do your forecasting as a cost analyst? Estimate to completion, estimate completion, because you have no idea where are we at, what's the percentage of completeness of this deliverable, how can you forecast costs? You know, percentage of effort, everything.
So that was one of my biggest issues. I can't do my proper job without having a schedule and know what's going on with PMs, or we don't have a schedule, so it's kind of like.
But again, that's part of that management, as we talk to the managers, we talk to the project managers, we talk to the direct manager, hey, I've got an issue here, I mean, I want to do a good job, but I'm missing some data, I'm not getting good communication. Where do I get this communication from? Am I allowed to make it up? You know, that's the other thing, you know, sometimes, a lot of times people say, well, you know, you guys know, just figure out what that's supposed to be, you guys kind of care if you want to do it. Well, then, you know, it's on you to say, okay, I did my forecast based on this. And you basically then communicate back up what your baseline is, what you decided and you set it up on. That then forces you to read or change it. But we'll talk a little later about core work.
So, spent a lot of time talking about the first two phases. You said, we're not even at the kickoff. But, well, that will determine how well you execute. At this point, if you've got the planning done, your execution should be smooth sailing, right? No problem. You should sit back and let it run on autopilot. All right? So, you know, obviously a lesson key to successful project execution phase is that you do all the due diligence in phase 1 and phase 2 and take the time, because if you don't, then you're going to spend the time during execution planning stuff that should already have been taken care of. So really get your kickoff meeting, you got your project management plan done, distribute it, make sure everybody's got a copy of it, make them read it, hold them accountable to it, have them review it, you know, and provide feedback. You've got your baseline now for your budget, your baseline for your schedule, you've got your risk register started, and it should be very thorough at this point. You should have mitigation plans for each of those in terms of actions, and could be contingencies for cash to apply for that. Next slide. And I'm going to kind of combine phase 3 and 4. The pin box says execution, monitor, but really it's done at the same time. So I've got a couple slides, and then I'll do keys to success for both of them. Really start tracking costs against budgets. You got your management change we talked about. Quick lesson learned on management change. You know, coming out of the military, jumping into subsea project management, I really didn't understand it at first. All I knew was I was told it was bad. Don't do it. Don't change. Well, we had a plan overseas. They're German, and they were nickel and diming me every meeting. Another change order, another change order. I was like, and it frustrated me at first. I kept asking, I said, they ain't even delivered what they're supposed to deliver yet, and they're giving me change orders for other stuff. And it took me a long time to realize what they were doing, and it was the right way to do it. Because if you don't manage your change, you don't track it throughout the life of the project, how are you going to account for costs at the end? He was right, because I kept saying, you didn't use your money to do what you were told to do. Now you're asking for a change order for more money to do this other stuff. You know, I was saying, well, just use this money for that. Yeah, I was wrong. He was right. We needed it at the end of the day, because what he wanted to show was, look, the task you assigned me, I did it under budget. This other stuff you kept giving me is where all my costs were. And he actually did me a favor, because at the end I say, look, you know, if we haven't tracked that, I wouldn't have been able to account for that extra. So that was a lesson learned from them.
Yeah, there's a lot of organizations that get really messed up on management of change. And you really hit the nail on the head. You know, not all change is bad, but if you're capturing that change, it's going to save your tail at the end of the project. So I'm
Because
really
the
glad you
mindset
touched
I
on
then
that.
took was, how am I using the money I've been allocated versus money I need to spend on stuff that was not in my contract or in my project management plan. Because at the end of the project, you may not meet your margin, but if you can account for it all, you can explain how you got to that. Say, look, these things happen, whatever it was. Could have been a risk you couldn't avoid, you know, the tree shoots its.
That's the thing, is, so it's unaccounted for. Is it unknown unknowns, or is it possible knowns?
Right.
You know, where do you have that in the risk ratio? How do you account for the risk ratio?
It changed my mindset, you know, because I was told change is bad, don't do it. I was trying not to do it. Finally, I understood what he was doing. He's like, no, we need to account for the buckets, you know.
But not all change orders are negative, some are positive.
That's right.
Yep.
It needs to be both.
Yep.
Cost savings and cost.
Yeah, and you got to hold, you know, don't let the client, don't let the engineers, don't let people run away with money. That's why I made them read the contract, the project management plan, so they knew exactly what we're supposed to do. All right, next slide, please. Okay, really, phase 4 is simultaneous to phase 3. What key performance indicators are you going to be tracking during execution? Really, you know, for the purpose of this, we're tracking our costs, we're tracking our schedule, and we're tracking our risk and how they relate to each other. So, key performance indicators are those things that help you do that. You know, whether it's a milestone payment schedule. You know, are you meeting those milestones in your schedule? There's certain key performance indicators. Or along track. Are you getting engineering? Did we meet that design freeze? Did we get procurement done when we said we were going to get it done? And so forth. And then again, you can't overlook document deliverables. You know, you can get that equipment done and on a truck. Only to find out, well, we got to put the manufacturing record book together. You got to go back to your contract. What does the contract say about delivery? Payment. Are you going to get cash for this $1 million tool you just built? Now, if the contract says the MRB's got to be with it, and the MRB could be months if they haven't been doing it throughout the life of the project. So you need to make sure those project deliveries are included in your schedule and that they're meeting their milestones, that there's KPIs for these. All right, next slide. Organization, we talked on that. Make sure you got all the right people, that they're on their team. Limit the amount of turnover you have. Clients don't like that. Project management plan, make sure it aligns with the contract. That your team has built it with you. You use the right subject matter experts. You publish that plan. Everybody's got a copy. You know, I printed copies and put them on their desk. I said, I want to see this on your desk. And then now, what are the key performance indicators? Rely on your subject matter experts to tell you what you should do. Next slide. Tracking costs against budget. Do you understand your budget? Do you have the right things in place? Chris talks about Janus. It was a way that we looked at how do I take my day one budget and make it intuitive and user friendly so I can assign it to people, hold them accountable. So the global fabrication manager knows, hey, you got X amount of dollars while you're overseas building this manifold to include lodging, food, transportation back and forth for your guys. So if someone gets sick or something happens, you decide someone's got to come back early. Well, how does that affect your budget? Accountability is key to all of this. Assignment and accountability. Next slide. Talk already about the schedule, monitoring progress. Make sure you got your baseline schedule set, that you understand all the activities required, that matches with your WBS, and that you are also tracking a forecast or a progress schedule with forecast against your baseline, because that will then you can look at risk, you can look at cost and mitigation plans. We already talked about continuous risk continuous risk management throughout. It's not something you do up front, leave it alone. Risk, you will incur them throughout the life of the project. They will change as the project goes along. Some risks pop up that because of events that happen. Status meeting, presentation, report. Next slide. All right, closeout. At this point, if you put that due diligence in up front, your execution was a breeze, and you've got everything accounted for. When it comes to closeout, you're done. That's not reality. So, making sure you finalize all the deliverables, the scope of supplies being delivered with its documentation. Are there punch lists? How does that relate back to the contract in terms of how you're going to get paid, if it's done or not done, or when you're going to get paid? Because the cost analyst thinking, hey, we're going to close the books on this day. Oh, no, well, we got MRBs that's 6 months later. Shoot, I'm going to my next project.
You got legal obligations on the warranty.
Yep.
Exposure.
Storage, everything. In terms of delivery, how's it being delivered? You know, they take ownership at the gate, or you got to get it to the port, etc. We're talking about documents, payments, reports, punch lists. Next slide. Now we hit the finish line. How do we do? Take those KPIs and measure your success over the life of the project. You've met your margin, you met on-time delivery 100%. All your risks are closed out. You did a good job. Now, lessons learned. The key to success is don't do lesson learned here. Start them at the beginning. Have a regular, maybe it's monthly, it doesn't have to be every week, but have a lessons learned format that you distribute, or a method that you want to do it, and distribute that at the front of the project and say, hey, over the life of the project, here's a format for you to write down the lessons you're learning. Then at the end, all you're doing is compiling